Remember Hajime, the same guy who fell into the abyss back in Season 1 and clawed his way out stronger than anyone thought possible? Now things are heating up quickly in the Hylian Kingdom. The Pope had just informed the king about the hero's return, and before anyone could react, the palace echoed with the sound of horns announcing their arrival. Princess Liliana couldn't hide her excitement.
I am so excited, I think I'm gonna
and rushed forward to greet them, her steps full of energy and hope. A little later, Shizuku joined her, and the two began discussing the situation of the kingdom. During their talk, Shizuku revealed that Kaori had decided to stay by Hajime Nagumo's side instead of returning home. The news made Liliana thoughtful as she started to wonder how Kuki might handle it. Wanting to ease her worries, Shizuku assured her that she could handle whatever came their way. She also explained that Hajime was still out there somewhere, searching for a way to bring everyone back to their own world. Meanwhile, Hajime and his crew were driving across the scorching Gruin desert inside the Brise. The heat was intense, and the mood inside the vehicle wasn't exactly calm. Kaori and Yue started bickering over Hajime again, each trying to get his attention in their own way. As their voices grew louder, Shay and Tio stepped in to calm things down, reminding them that Mew was sitting right there and didn't need to see another fight. Slowly, the tension faded, and peace returned for a short while. After some time, Hajime noticed something strange ahead. The sand began to shake, and before anyone could understand what was happening, a massive sandworm burst out of the ground, blocking their path. Without hesitation, Hajime grabbed his weapon and fired a missile, blasting the creature into pieces. However, more worms soon appeared, rushing toward them from every direction. Hajime stayed focused, using the mounted gun on the Brise to tear through the new wave of monsters until the desert finally fell silent again. When the dust settled, the group spotted someone lying motionless on the sand. Hajime decided to check it out and told Mew to stay inside for safety. As they got closer, Kaori realized the man's mana was going out of control, and his body was on the verge of collapse. She tried several ways to stabilize him, but nothing worked. Finally, she used her Sanctorum ability to pull the excess mana out and seal it inside the holy crystal ring Hajime had given her. It was risky, but it worked, and the man slowly began to recover. After waking up, the stranger introduced himself as Bees Fjord Zengen, the son of a duke from Ankaji. He explained that his town was suffering from a deadly mana poisoning that was killing its people. The only cure, a rare stillstone, was hidden deep inside the Gruin volcano. Without wasting any time, Hajime agreed to help, ready to take on the next dangerous mission with his team by his side. After rolling into Ankaji City with his team, Hajime went straight to work like he always did. He met up with Lunsui, told him they were here to help, and didn't waste time talking about it. When they reached the spot, Yue started flexing her magic, pulling up a huge wave of clean water from thin air. Meanwhile, Hajime started tossing grenades into the water like he was fishing with explosives. The blasts echoed through the place until finally, a nasty slime monster oozed out from below, ugly, dripping, and clearly the reason the water was poisoned. Even after it showed up, the water still looked pretty bad, but Tio, calm as always, said the oasis would heal up soon since the clean flow was already running again. Lunsui, finally breathing easy, thanked Hajime for saving their people.
Oh, thanks, man,
and said he owed him one. After that, he gathered everyone in the hall and announced that Hajime's team would be heading to the Gruin volcano to mine stillstone, a rare mineral worth the sweat. Kaori stayed behind to babysit Mew, while the rest of the gang geared up for a walk straight into Hell's Furnace. When they reached the volcano, Hajime noticed the walls glittering like they were lined with treasure. For a second, he thought they hit the jackpot, but turns out it was just worthless pebbles. Someone had already cleaned the place out. Typical. So, he decided they had to go deeper, even though the heat felt like walking through a dragon's mouth. Not long after, a fireball came flying at them out of nowhere. Yue handled it like a pro, slicing it apart before it even got close. Then, as if the day wasn't hot enough, a giant flaming bull appeared, snorting lava and ready to fight. Shay, grinning like she'd been waiting for this all day, ran forward and knocked it out with one punch. The bull exploded into ash, leaving Hajime muttering that she probably enjoyed that a little too much.
Yaruka?
They took a short break to cool off, well, as much as you could in a volcano. While sitting there, Tio said these challenges might be the labyrinth's way of testing them, seeing if Hajime could stay focused when things got messy. He didn't say much, but the thought clearly stuck with him. After the break, the team hopped on a metal boat and started floating across a river of lava, because why not make things more dangerous? Soon enough, The boat dropped down a lava waterfall and landed in another fiery stream, where the cave walls sparkled with real stillstones this time. It looked like they were finally getting somewhere, but just as they were about to celebrate, lava erupted around them and giant snakes burst out. Hajime opened fire, blasting them apart, but those damn things just grew back. That's when it clicked. They had to kill 100 of them to get the gems. Instead of panicking, Yue, Tio, and Shay turned it into a competition, racing to see who could take down the most snakes. It was chaos, fire, lightning, and magic everywhere, but they made it look easy. In the end, only a few snakes were left, and just when Hajime raised his gun for the final shot, a sudden beam of light slammed into him, cutting the moment short. The moment that strange ray of light hit Hajime, everything went sideways. His body went limp as he lost consciousness, dropping straight toward the lava below. Yue didn't waste a second. She dived after him, catching him mid-air before he hit the fire. But that damn beam wasn't done. It kept tearing through the place, blowing up the rocks and shaking the whole volcano. Yue fought through it, her magic flaring as she did everything she could to protect Hajime. In the middle of all that chaos, Fried showed up like some smug villain who'd been waiting for his cue. He looked around, surprised Hajime was still alive after taking a hit from Uranus's breath. Hajime woke up, half dazed but still sharp, and the two locked eyes. Fried finally introduced himself. God's apostle, sent to punish anyone who went against their God's will. Hajime didn't even flinch. He made it clear Fried was his enemy, since he stood in their way. That one line was all it took to kick off an all-out fight. Fried blinked out of sight, using some move called Cosmic Rift, reappearing behind Hajime with a sneak attack. Tio immediately picked up on the danger, realizing things were about to go south fast. Her father's old warning rang in her head, that Dragonborns were seen as enemies of God. She knew if she hesitated, Hajime would die. So without thinking twice, she transformed into a massive black dragon, eyes blazing, ready to tear Fried apart. Seeing that beast appear, Fried hesitated for the first time. He could feel death breathing down his neck, and for a second, he thought about retreating. But before he could bail, Hajime jumped back into the fight, firing off everything he had. The cave lit up with explosions, flashes of magic, and gunfire. It was a brutal brawl. Fried and his dragons holding their ground, Hajime and his team pushing harder every second. Eventually, Fried realized he couldn't win this round and pulled out, escaping with his remaining beasts. Hajime stood at the edge, drained and swaying dangerously close to the lava. Just as he started to fall, Tio swooped in and caught him, saving him again. Fried, from a distance, admitted he might have underestimated Hajime, but he still wasn't done. Before disappearing, he destroyed the cornerstone of the volcano, sending lava surging upward. The heat spiked, the ground shook, and the whole place started coming apart. Hajime, battered but thinking fast, told Tio to escape through the roof. He left her with one simple message for Kaori and Miu: "See you later." Tio nodded and activated her pain conversion skill, powering herself up through the agony. She burst through the roof, wings slicing the smoke, while Fried tried to chase her down. But before he could reach her, Hajime's gear detonated behind him, setting off a massive chain of explosions that rocked the entire Gruen volcano. Back in the Hylish kingdom, things were calmer but tense. Liliana watched Shizuku train hard, her sword cutting through the air with precision. The sight brought back flashes of their recent battle. When a stray cat ran past and disappeared, Shizuku turned to find Liliana walking up. They talked for a while, mostly about Kuki's absence, until Liliana mentioned the rumors, people calling Hajime Nagumo a heretic. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, Hayami started hearing a mysterious woman's voice whispering to him. She offered him a deal, his desires, in exchange for helping her reclaim the princess. Hayami didn't answer right away, but the voice stayed calm, saying it wasn't an order, just a trade where both sides win. Tio wasted no time and shot straight to the Hylian kingdom. When she landed, she ditched her dragon look and went human again, bumping right into Kaori. Kaori looked tense, asking about Hajime and the rest of the team, but Tio told her to chill out. After a moment, Tio reassured her that Hajime and the others would be there soon, passing along his casual, "See you later," to both Kaori and little Miu. Once things calmed down, the two decided on their next move: head to the Grand Gruen volcano, grab Hajime and the gang, and then take Miu home to her mom in Erison. Meanwhile, Hajime and Yue were talking about how close they came to getting roasted alive in that damn volcano. As they replayed the chaos in their heads, Hajime remembered the escape plan: the lava, the heat, and the madness. They'd found a door leading to a weird room with a glowing magic circle, the kind that screamed, "Touch me, and hope for the best." The message carved into it talked about humanity's future and free will, which felt deep, but also suspicious as hell. Yue confirmed they'd cleared the place, and Hajime, being his usual wild self, suggested they swim through lava to escape. Yeah, swim through lava. Luckily, he had built an underwater ride just for that kind of crazy idea. But then, halfway through the plan, Hajime realized something was off. It wasn't a volcanic eruption. Something was pulling them down, like the world itself wanted them gone. So, they changed course and moved away from Ankaji, figuring sticking around wasn't the smartest play. They finally broke through to the ocean's surface, gasping for air, only to get ambushed by a pack of sea monsters. Hajime handled it like it was just another Tuesday. Then out of nowhere, Tio, Shay, and Mew dropped from the sky like a reunion scene that didn't care about gravity. The team regrouped and headed to Arisen, finally getting a break from the madness. Hajime handed over his proof of conquest, and the local commander stamped it official, mission complete. Then came the soft part, Hajime bringing Mew to her mom, Ramiya. Mew jumped into her arms like she'd been waiting forever. Even Hajime couldn't hide the small smile sneaking up on his face. Ramiya had a hurt leg, so Hajime picked her up to help, while Kaori tended to the injury and told her to rest for a couple days. Ramiya, touched and teary-eyed, thanked Hajime for bringing her baby home. Somehow, the talk turned into him becoming Mew's new dad. No one argued. It just fit. Back in the Hylia Kingdom, Yagashi ran into Aiko. They talked about how Hajime had basically saved everyone's necks, but Yagashi could tell something in Aiko had changed. She looked like she'd seen too much truth. When he pushed her a bit, she admitted that Hajime had been branded a heretic. That label hit hard, because it wasn't just against him, it was like spitting on the goddess of fertility herself. Aiko agreed, saying the king and his people were acting shady, too calm for something that serious. Then she dropped one last thing. Hajime had told her something about the god their church worshipped. Whatever it was, it left her feeling uneasy, like maybe faith wasn't what it seemed anymore. Hajime sat alone at the edge of a cliff, the night breeze brushing past him as he stared into the horizon. His quiet moment didn't last long though, because the rest of his team eventually showed up. Saji pulled out the pendant they got from the Gruen volcano and pointed it at the moon. The thing lit up out of nowhere, shooting a beam of light into the sky. Everyone froze for a second, caught between awe and emotion. Even Hajime, who rarely got sentimental, felt something stir inside. Later, they rode through a dark cavern on Hajime's custom boat, gliding over still water. But halfway through, Hajime's instincts kicked in. Something nasty was nearby. That heavy, black-red aura told him all he needed to know. Without missing a beat, he fired a missile straight at the source. The explosion lit up the cave, and just like that, the threat was gone. When the dust settled, they found the 5th pentagram symbol. Hajime didn't waste time. He used the last of the pendant's light to unlock the next area. The boat dropped through a tunnel and crashed into a pool below. Water came pouring down like a waterfall, but Yue handled it like a pro. As they went deeper underwater, the pressure built, and Hajime ended up carrying Yue on his shoulders. The others started teasing them, which got Yue fired up enough to snap back at Kaori. It was a rare moment of heat from her calm self. Things got tense again when a huge jelly monster appeared, its body oozing acid. Shay jumped in to smack it around, but barely scratched it. Hajime quickly threw up a protective dome, though the acid started eating through it fast. Magic wasn't working either, which made things worse. Then, the blob shifted, revealing its true form, a nightmare straight out of the abyss. The crew went all in, blasting it from every side. It exploded, but before anyone could cheer, the damn thing started regenerating. Hajime figured it out. The monster didn't have a single mana crystal. Its whole body was one. He tried burning it with his flamethrower, but that did nothing. Thinking fast, he found a way out below them, blasting a hole and diving through. They ended up back underwater, where Hajime dragged Kaori to safety and pulled her onto the shore. Before they could relax, he reminded her they were still deep inside the Great Labyrinth. No time to zone out yet. Soon, they stumbled into a graveyard full of old ships, and just like that, reality twisted. The place turned into some kind of illusionary battlefield. Waves crashed, swords clashed, and shadowy enemies surrounded them. Hajime and Kaori fought through the chaos, every move sharp and focused, until the illusion suddenly shattered, dumping them back into silence. After catching their breath, Hajime told Kaori the truth. He said Yue had saved his life more than once, and that his heart belonged to her, completely. Kaori took it hard, her smile faltering, but she stayed quiet. Somewhere else, a nun approached Aiko and lured her toward the divine mountain. But it wasn't a holy invitation. She tried to possess Aiko's body. Aiko fought back without even realizing how strong she was. Impressed, the nun pulled back and decided not to kill her, thinking Aiko might make a useful pawn for whatever dark plans she had brewing. Hajime kept trying to talk sense into Kaori, telling her she needed to think about why she really joined their team. He made it clear that his heart already belonged to Yue, and that wasn't changing for anyone. Even so, he offered to escort Kaori back to Yaegashi if that was what she truly wanted. However, before they could finish their talk, the world twisted around them once again. Suddenly, they were standing on a massive ship surrounded by lights, laughter, and luxury. Music echoed through the air as humans and beastmen danced together, celebrating as if all wars were finally over. After a while, the king took center stage, his voice booming over the crowd. Hajime assumed it was a victory speech, but the tone quickly turned dark. Without warning, the king ordered every beastman to be executed in the name of their god. The party turned into a bloodbath. Screams filled the air as knights drew their swords. Kaori froze, trembling and turning her face away from the carnage. Hajime stood still, his anger simmering as he locked eyes with a nun watching from the shadows. The stare between them was sharp and strange, like she knew something he didn't. Soon after, the illusion shattered, and they found themselves back in silence. Kaori was shaking, her face pale. Hajime pulled her close, steadying her. Afterwards, he explained that the illusion was probably the work of the god behind this world, a twisted trick meant to break people's faith. Together, they figured that the king's sudden hatred for beastmen must have been caused by divine manipulation, not his own will. Then, without warning, a strong gust of wind hit them, throwing Kaori across the room. Hajime barely had time to react before soldiers surrounded him. He fought them off fast, tearing through the ambush with brutal precision. When he finally found Kaori again, something felt off. Her voice was hers, but her words were all wrong. Some other presence had taken over her body, using her to mess with him. Hajime didn't hesitate. He promised to break the thing inside her without killing it, no matter how long it took. His determination paid off. The spirit eventually cracked and left her body. When Kaori came to, she didn't run. Instead, she leaned forward and kissed him, saying she wasn't leaving, no matter what he said. Her love for him was final. Shortly after, Hajime and Kaori found the magic circle and activated it, teleporting straight to the dungeon's end. There, they reunited with Yue, Tio, and Shay. The girls instantly started teasing Kaori, tossing jokes and challenges her way. Yue, half amused and half serious, even declared they'd see who'd win Hajime's heart. Their laughter broke the tension, and then the pendant of conquest appeared before them, glowing bright, their proof that they'd cleared the labyrinth. Before they could celebrate, though, the water around them rose sharply, swallowing them whole. Yue and the others reacted quickly, forming a barrier to breathe. That's when the nightmare returned. The Devourer, the same monster from before, resurfaced with a vengeance. Reinforcements led by Lei arrived just in time, buying Hajime a few moments to plan his final strike. With flawless aim and fierce resolve, he blew the creature apart for good. Meanwhile, back in the Nilai Kingdom, fear spread fast as people began vanishing mysteriously. Far away, the same nun who had appeared in the illusion escorted Aiko up the divine mountain. Her lord watched with cold eyes, seeing Aiko's defiance as a growing problem. Darkness lingered in the kingdom, and something far more dangerous was beginning to move. Morning came over Erison, and Miyu bounced into Hajime and Yue's room, poking and nudging them awake with her usual energy. Not long after, Shay and Kaori barged in, dragging Hajime out of bed and teasing him to join them for breakfast. At the table, Miyu got curious about Hajime's plans, and he casually said he wanted to build some new gear. She immediately jumped in, hyped to help, and breakfast turned into a playful mess as the girls ran around, playing tag and laughing loud enough to fill the room. Hajime, meanwhile, sat back, lost in thought, trying to figure out how he'd tell Miyu they were leaving soon. Out of nowhere, Ramiya rose from the water, thanking Hajime for everything he had done. That's when he realized she already knew about the departure. It hit him bittersweet, but she didn't ask him to stay. Instead, she told him to follow his own path, and Hajime felt a bit of courage build up. He decided it was time to talk to Miyu. Meanwhile, the other girls couldn't resist goofing around, each trying to get his attention, which made Hajime shake his head and laugh quietly. Eventually, Hajime pulled Miyu aside and told her straight up that he would be leaving the next day. She broke down, tears rolling freely, but after a while, Meanwhile, she got herself together and gave him a brave, tearful goodbye. Hajime promised he'd come back with the team, bring her along, and take her to his hometown in Japan. Hearing that, Miu finally relaxed a little, and he reminded her to help her mom and behave while he was gone. Over the next few days, Hajime spent time with his team, enjoying little moments, sharing plans about traveling between worlds, and promising Miu that she'd see Japan one day. The team felt tight, connected by the goal ahead. One evening, Miu called them for dinner, giving them a small happy break before the big day. When dawn arrived, it was time to leave. They said goodbye to Miu and Remia, exchanged heartfelt wishes, and set off, leaving behind smiles, tears, and memories. Meanwhile, Liliana kept to herself, uneasy after seeing Aiko get taken by the mysterious nun. Her dad's odd behavior lately made her even more nervous. On the Divine Mountain, Aiko asked the nun what she wanted, and the nun told her she wasn't needed anymore since she went off script. At the same time, Fried rallied his demons, giving a fiery speech that got his army moving against the people he considered heretics. Back in the Highlight Kingdom, a soldier named Jose brought shocking news to the commander. Several troops were showing signs of the void, a scary, unexplained thing. The commander acted fast, summoning dark magic experts to investigate and come up with a plan. He also wrote a letter for Duke Zengen and Hajime, just in case things went south. At that moment, Daisuke appeared, and tension spiked when Jose charged at him with his sword. Meld stepped in, telling Daisuke to run, but out of nowhere, Daisuke stabbed Meld from behind, leaving everyone stunned at the sudden twist. In the Highlight Kingdom, the girls were on edge, worried sick about their captain and what recent events might mean. Meanwhile, Meld somehow survived the sword thrust from Daisuke. He didn't waste a second, jumping straight into a fight against Daisuke, Jose, and two other soldiers. Meld managed to knock out Jose and the two soldiers, but the win didn't last. The knocked out soldiers came back to life almost immediately, and more troops rushed in, surrounding him. Outnumbered and knowing he couldn't take them all, Meld made a quick call and escaped through a window to save his own life. As he made his desperate getaway, Noint appeared, eyes blazing, fully devoted to Ahit. She went on the offensive, forcing Meld into an even tighter spot. Inside the Kingdom Hall, Daisuke ran into a mysterious girl who calmly revealed that Noint's attack had been part of her plan. She explained that Meld being out of the picture was necessary for their grand scheme to move forward. Meanwhile, Hajime and his team stumbled onto chaos of their own. About 15 guards were holding their ground against 40 aggressive bandits, refusing to back down, even with the odds stacked against them. Hajime watched them, impressed at their grit, until the bandits finally broke through the guards' magical barrier, leaving them exposed. Hajime didn't hesitate. He sped forward, firing the mounted weapon on Breeze, and wiped out the bandits in no time. After the dust settled, he told Kaori to take care of the wounded guards. Out of nowhere, Liliana appeared, running straight toward Kaori, and soon ended up meeting Hajime. He asked why she was there, and she explained that Aiko had been kidnapped, which clarified her sudden appearance. Inside Brise, Liliana recounted everything she'd seen in the Highlight Kingdom, the strange lethargy among the knights, her father acting weird, and the trail that led her to Hajime and the others. Hajime immediately offered his help, motivated by both responsibility for Aiko and his curiosity about the mysteries of the Age of Magic in the Divine Mountain. Elsewhere, Aiko finally pieced together the nun's cryptic mention of an irregular. It hit her that the nun had been talking about Hajime all along. Right at that moment, Hajime appeared, rescuing Aiko and taking down her captors. After reuniting, he explained exactly how he tracked her down, showing just how resourceful he had been. Aiko thanked him and apologized, but Hajime brushed it off, taking it all in stride. Their conversation didn't last long though, because the sound of the capital's barrier breaking cut through the air. Hajime warned Aiko that demons were attacking and the Highlight Kingdom was under invasion. He quickly told her to meet up with Amanagawa and the others, promising they'd talk more later. The urgency spiked when both Hajime and Aiko were targeted by a sudden disintegration attack. They dodged it just in time, revealing Noint as the attacker. Amid the chaos, Noint introduced herself as a divine apostle. She explained that her job was to remove unnecessary players from the grand plan of the gods, and Hajime had been tagged as one of those elements meant to be eliminated. Liliana and her friends were walking through the corridors of Highlight Kingdom when windows suddenly shattered, signaling the barrier had been broken. Liliana immediately got the situation, and Tio used a gadget Hajime had built to send urgent info to Kaori and the team. The message was grim. A huge horde of demons and monsters had gathered just a kilometer from the capital. After thinking it over, Yue and Shay decided to take action against Fried to get back at him for what he did to Hajime. They moved toward Tio, but Hajime quickly told her to focus on keeping Aiko safe, giving him the freedom to jump into the fight. On top of the tower, Yue and Shay dodged Fried's attacks with slick moves and fast reflexes, keeping themselves safe. Eventually, they confronted him and his forces head-on, but their attacks bounced off, leading nowhere. Fried saw the stalemate and ordered his right-hand guy to go after Shay while he focused on Yue. Yue quickly opened a portal with her spatial powers, sending Shay, the right-hand man, and some of his troops somewhere else, setting setting up a separate fight. Freed from Shay, Yue and Freed went all in against each other. Meanwhile, Shay's opponent tried to guilt trip her about Katleya, who she had killed, but was supposed to be his partner. Shay didn't care, staying cold and showing no sympathy. He attacked, trying everything, but nothing worked on her. A stone needle managed to scratch her, but she instantly healed it. Seeing an opening, Shay threw him hard, and he didn't get up again. On the ground, Yue went full force to take down Freed's army and avenge Hajime. Her first attack didn't work, so she called the 5 holy dragons, completely wiping them out. Freed went berserk and fired a huge void fissure attack, but Yue survived, though she got hit by one of his dragon's horns. Using reverse revival, she got out safely, while Freed's old injuries flared, leaving him badly hurt. He took off, beaten but still alive. At the same time, Hajime faced off against Noint while carrying Aiko. He tried to get a reaction out of her, but she stayed completely emotionless. She fired a massive hellfire tsunami, but Hajime survived thanks to prototype protective gear he was testing, showing how quick on his feet he was. During their fight, Hajime asked why she hadn't sent him back to his world. Noint said Ihit had other plans. He wanted Hajime dead before he could finish his ultimate goal. Just then, she attacked again, but Tio appeared in full dragon form, blasting Noint back. Hajime quickly moved Aiko onto Tio's back and told her to leave, while he stayed behind, ready to face Noint one last time. While Tio flew Aiko to safety, Aiko was stubborn, insisting she wanted to stick around and help Hajime. After some playful arguing, Tio gave in, letting her jump in to take down anyone getting in Hajime's way. Meanwhile, Hajime was deep in a fight with Noint, and it was brutal. At first, it seemed like they were evenly matched, trading attacks like pros. But Hajime quickly noticed something off. Noint's energy didn't drop at all while his own was draining fast. Things got real when Noint started to dominate, blocking everything Hajime threw at her. On top of that, Hajime's limit break was ticking down, making the fight even tighter. Thinking fast, Hajime rigged some extra equipment and blew it up, taking the blast himself to hit Noint hard. Then he spotted a crack forming in her sword. Smelling the opening, he smashed it, leaving her weaponless. Fired up, Hajime went all out, hitting her with everything he had until she finally went down. Just after, a massive explosion caught his attention. He ran over and found Aiko and Tio standing there, both looking a little wild, but alive. Hajime couldn't help but respect Aiko for sticking it out. Then he noticed the ruined church, blown to pieces by Tio's amplified dragon breath. Hajime pieced together what happened. Aiko had used fermentation acceleration to make methane, which Tio turned into a literal demolition blast. The weight of it hit them both when Aiko realized the people inside probably didn't make it. Before they could stew, Tio pointed out a mysterious figure in white. Hajime, curious as ever, decided to follow it, figuring it would lead somewhere important. They ended up at a magical circle, and the group stepped through, getting dumped into a strange, mysterious realm full of secrets. Hajime wandered a bit and stumbled on a book explaining the Divine Mountain. It was basically a hardcore test from the gods to see who had real determination. Seeing the bigger picture, Hajime thought it was time to link back up with Yue and the others. Hours earlier in the palace, Shizuku had heard a loud crash and told Kuki right away. They gathered the others, realizing something serious was going down. Nia showed up, explaining that the Great Barrier was broken and demons were invading. Eri popped in too, saying they needed Mel's advice before doing anything, and everyone agreed. They started moving toward the center, with Jose giving directions and making sure they didn't waste time. But something felt off. As they got closer, Jose activated a light beacon, and in a brutal twist, all the heroes except Shizuku got stabbed. Nia rushed to help Shizuku, but instead of saving her, she stabbed her too. Then Eri revealed she had been running the show all along, pulling strings behind the scenes. Shizuku froze, stunned and betrayed, realizing just how deep Eri's plans went. Eri stepped onto the battlefield like she owned it, immediately locking onto Kuki and claiming him as hers. She spilled her whole plan to Shizuku, explaining that everything she did was to secure an eternal life with Kuki in this place. She bragged about using necromancy to make the animated soldiers talk through her spirit-binding spell, and even admitted tricking Suzu by pretending to be a friend to gain her trust. Her manipulation ran deep, and it was clear she had thought of everything. Just as she advanced on Shizuku, ready to use her magic to turn her into a weapon against Kaori, Kaori and Liliana crashed the scene, throwing a wrench in Eri's plan. But the chaos only got worse when Hayami appeared from behind. Liliana's happy reunion twisted into horror as Hayami, under Eri's necromantic control, knocked her out with a single blow. Then he attacked Kaori, stabbing her in the back. Kaori fought to recover, but Hayami's relentless strikes kept her pinned, pushing her into serious danger. Kuki snapped out of his collar lock, bursting into the fight and freeing the heroes one by one. They fought hard, but the soldiers kept coming, surrounding them. Kuki decided to go after Eri himself, but Meld blocked his strike. Suddenly, Kuki's body betrayed him. He vomited blood from the poison Eri had slipped into him. She revealed it was just enough to weaken him, and then turned her attention to Kaori, planning to kill and resurrect her with her spell. Right on time, Hajime jumped in, taking control. He neutralized Hiyami, while Tio and Aiko rushed to patch up Kaori. Hajime didn't let Eri wiggle out. He kept her cornered, refusing to back down. Eri tried to use Meld to take Hajime down, but Hajime was faster, and Meld fell. Not wasting a beat, Hajime pulled out his machine gun and shredded the surrounding soldiers with precise, relentless fire. Hayami made one last desperate attack, but got tossed right out of the church like he was nothing. Then Fried showed up, demanding Hajime surrender, pointing to the massive horde of monsters closing in. Hajime didn't even flinch. He called down a massive laser from the sky, obliterating the swarm and leaving a perfect circle of devastation around the palace. With the monsters gone, Hajime warned Fried to back off, or he'd face the same destruction himself. Fried seethed, promising revenge and vowing to make Hajime pay. Using the chaos as cover, Eri grabbed Fried and slipped away. Meanwhile, Hajime made sure the others were safe, sending Kaori to the mountaintop to get her wounds treated. Noticing Shizuku struggling with the shock, he went over and reassured her, telling her Kaori would be okay. His calm words helped ease some of her fear, even as the battlefield still burned behind them. The next day, Liliana went through the palace documents, piecing together everything that happened. She found out the king had been killed by the mysterious nun, who also grabbed Aiko and vanished without a trace. Meanwhile, Hajime climbed to the mountain peak to check on Kaori. Yue and the others met him there, letting him know Kaori was recovering, which lifted a weight off his shoulders. After that, Hajime talked with Aiko, running through all the chaos that went down. He asked her about the church and the lives lost there, and Aiko admitted she didn't feel regret. Hajime, looking out over the valley, told her she needed to carry that weight and let herself feel regret, because that's part of being human. Then he turned his back to her, quietly letting her cry if she needed to. Meanwhile, Kuki wrapped up training with Shizuku and was soon joined by Liliana. They talked about the recent chaos, the losses they suffered, and the weight of it all. Kuki voiced his distrust of Hajime, hoping Shizuku didn't get too close to him. Just then, Liliana noticed a figure descending from the sky. It was Hajime and his group, landing like pros. Shizuku lit up at their arrival, but quickly realized Kaori was missing. Hajime reassured her she'd be there soon. Moments later, Kaori crash-landed, and everyone went on edge, ready to fight. But it wasn't a threat. Kaori looked different. Shizuku ran to her, tears streaming, and hugged her tight. Hajime explained how they used magic to retrieve Kaori's soul and graft it into Noin's restored body, while Yue added that Kaori's original body was frozen and could be restored whenever she wanted. Shizuku thanked Hajime and the team for everything they'd done. Then Hajime revealed a bigger picture. They'd all been manipulated by higher powers, pawns in a larger cosmic plan. The news hit hard, mixing urgency and unease into the group. Later, during dinner, Shizuku asked Hajime where he was headed next. He told them about the Great Labyrinth, sparking a discussion. Hajime's old classmates all wanted in, aiming to grab the God's Age magic for themselves. After some thought, Hajime let them join, though Yue quickly realized he planned to use them as shields and decoys for danger. The mood lightened a bit as the ladies, as usual, tried to flirt and feed Hajime little bites from their plates. Shizuku stayed awkwardly on the side, clearly uncomfortable with the playful chaos. Tio even cheekily asked Hajime for a reward for protecting Aiko, teasing him for a firm spank. Later that night, Yue woke up to find Hajime gone from their bed. She found him on the terrace, calmly telling her his next plan. They'd finish today's events and then go get Mew. With everything in order, the group gathered, ready to set off for the Great Labyrinth, the next leg of their wild adventure.